The day I tried to quit was the day my boss discovered a secret I would have done anything to keep hidden. The resignation letter felt heavier than it should have. It was only a single sheet of paper, folded neatly inside a plain white envelope. But as I stood outside Damian Romano's office on the 42nd floor of Romano Holdings, it felt like I was carrying the weight of my entire life in my hands. My fingers trembled so badly that the edge of the envelope crinkled under my grip. I stared through the floor-to-ceiling windows lining the hallway. Manhattan stretched beneath me, glittering beneath a gray November sky. Rain tapped softly against the glass, tiny droplets racing each other toward the city below. Normally, I loved this view. It reminded me that no matter how difficult life became, the world was always bigger than my problems. Today, it just made me feel small. My throat tightened. Not here. Emma, don't cry here. You've made it this far. I took a slow breath and adjusted the strap of my purse. Inside was everything that mattered. My wallet, my phone, a half-finished grocery list, and a crayon drawing Noah had made for me that morning before school. A stick figure with yellow hair holding hands with a smaller stick figure beneath a giant smiling sun. Mommy and me. The paper had a crease down the middle from how many times I had unfolded it throughout the day. Every time I felt like falling apart, I looked at it and reminded myself why I had to keep going. Why I always had to keep going. Even when I was exhausted. Even when I was scared. Even when I felt completely alone. I raised my hand and knocked. Come in. His voice was calm, deep, controlled. The same voice that could silence an entire boardroom with 2 words. I opened the door. Damian Romano sat behind a massive walnut desk, reviewing documents on a tablet. The afternoon sunlight caught the silver edge of his watch. He looked exactly the same as always. Impeccable suit, perfect posture, absolute confidence. Everything about him seemed unshakable. For a second, I wondered what that must feel like. To wake up every morning knowing the world couldn't hurt you. Then I remembered why I was there. My chest tightened again. Emma? He looked up, closed the door. I obeyed automatically. The click of the door sounded louder than it should have. Damian studied me for a moment. His eyes narrowed slightly. You're late for payroll review. I nodded. I know. And I stepped forward and placed the envelope on his desk. I'm sorry. His gaze shifted from my face to the envelope, then back again. Silence settled between us. The kind of silence that seemed to stretch forever. Finally, he reached forward and picked it up. He didn't open it right away. What is this? My pulse hammered in my ears. My resignation. The words nearly broke me. Saying them out loud made everything real. Damian's expression didn't change. Not immediately. He simply stared at me. Waiting. I'm giving my 2 weeks' notice. I continued. I appreciate everything this company has done for me. Damian turned the envelope over once in his hands, then set it down on the desk without opening it. The movement was calm, almost casual, but something in the room shifted. I felt it immediately. The air seemed heavier. The city beyond the glass walls disappeared behind a curtain of rain as gray clouds rolled across the skyline. For several seconds, neither of us spoke. I stared at the edge of his desk, afraid that if I looked directly at him, I would completely lose control of the emotions I had spent weeks trying to contain. No. The single word caught me off guard. I blinked. What his expression remained unreadable. No. My throat tightened. Damian, this is not a discussion. You are right, he said evenly. It is not. Confusion flickered through my exhaustion. I had prepared for questions, arguments, negotiation. I had rehearsed every possible response during sleepless nights while sitting beside Noah's bed. I had not prepared for this. I am resigning, I said again. I understood you the first time. His eyes remained fixed on mine. Sit down, Emma, I would rather not. Sit. The firmness in his voice made my stomach knot. Reluctantly, I lowered myself into the chair across from him, my hands folded tightly in my lap. Damien leaned back slightly. Now tell me what is really happening. Nothing is happening. That is not true. I looked away toward the windows. I just need a change. You have worked here 4 years. People leave jobs every day. Not like this. My pulse quickened. You do not know anything about my life. The words came out sharper than I intended. For a moment, I regretted them. Damien did not react. He simply studied me, carefully, patiently, like he was assembling pieces of a puzzle. Then his gaze dropped briefly toward my wrist. Instinctively, I pulled my sleeve lower. Too late. I saw his jaw tighten, only slightly, but enough. My heart sank. Emma. His voice softened. Somehow that made everything worse. Look at me. I could not. If I looked at him, I would cry again. And I was tired of crying, tired of pretending everything was fine, tired of carrying fear everywhere I went. Emma. This time I forced myself to lift my head. His eyes locked onto mine immediately. Steady, focused. Who is frightening you? The question stole the air from my lungs. Nobody. That was not an answer. I said nobody. And I do not believe you. My fingers tightened together. The room suddenly felt too warm. This is personal. I know. Then stay out of it. Silence followed. Long enough for me to hear the rain striking the windows. Long enough for my composure to begin cracking again. Then Damien stood. He walked around the desk and crossed the office. I watched him in confusion until he reached the door behind me. A second later, I heard a metallic click. My stomach dropped. Slowly. He turned back toward me. Damien. His expression never changed. Sit down. Emma. My heartbeat pounded in my ears. Why did you lock the door? He looked directly at me. Because you are finally going to tell me the truth. Then his eyes narrowed slightly. And because a few minutes ago, your son's school called my office asking why nobody picked him up. For a moment, I forgot how to breathe. The office seemed to tilt beneath me. Every sound disappeared except the pounding of my heart. What did you just say? My voice came out as barely more than a whisper. Damien did not look away. Your son's school called 20 minutes ago. Cold fear rushed through my body. I was already reaching for my phone before he finished speaking. My fingers shook so badly I nearly dropped it. 3 missed calls, 2 voicemails, 1 text message from the school office. My stomach twisted. Noah had never missed pickup. Not once. I called immediately. The line rang twice before someone answered. Lincoln Elementary. This is Mrs. Parker. This is Emma Carter, my son Noah. I just saw your messages. Relief flooded the woman's voice. Miss Carter. Thank goodness. Noah is safe. One of our staff members stayed with him. My knees nearly gave out. Safe. The word echoed through me. Safe. I am so sorry, I said. I lost track of time, but even as I spoke, I knew that was not true. I had not forgotten Noah. Noah was the reason I had come to resign in the first place. There is something else, Mrs. Parker said carefully. The relief inside me vanished. What? I pause. A man came to the school earlier today asking questions about Noah. My grip tightened around the phone. Questions he wanted to know what grade Noah was in, what time school ended, whether someone else was authorized to pick him up. The room suddenly felt too small, too warm. I closed my eyes. Not again. Please, not again. Did he give a name? I asked. No. When we refused to provide information, he left. I thanked her and promised I would be there within the hour. When the call ended, I stared at the dark screen in my hand. My chest felt hollow. Damien remained silent, watching, waiting. Finally, I lowered the phone. Emma, I looked away. Do not. Who was that man? The question landed like a weight. I do not know. It was technically true. I did not know who had gone to the school, but deep down, I knew why he was there. The fear that had followed me for months tightened around my throat. Every strange car parked near my apartment, every unfamiliar number calling my phone, every feeling of being watched when I walked Noah home from school. Suddenly, none of it felt imaginary anymore. Damien stepped closer. You are terrified. You should let me leave. No. My eyes burned again. You do not understand. Then help me understand. I laughed softly, a broken sound that did not feel like laughter at all. Understanding will not fix this. Try me. Rain streaked down the windows behind him. Gray clouds swallowed the city. For several seconds I stared at the floor. Then I reached into my purse and pulled out a folded document. The paper was worn from being opened too many times. My hands trembled as I handed it to him. Damien unfolded it slowly. His expression hardened the moment he read the first line. Official Family Court Notice. Petition for Parental Rights. My voice cracked. 3 months ago, Noah's biological father came back into our lives. I swallowed hard. And now he wants my son. Damien read the document once, then again. The silence that followed felt endless. Rain continued sliding down the glass behind him, turning the Manhattan skyline into a blur of gray and silver. I watched his eyes move across the page, every line, every word. My stomach twisted tighter with each passing second. Finally, he set the papers down carefully, too carefully. How old is this? He asked. The petition, I nodded. 3 months. His gaze lifted immediately. And you have been dealing with this alone for 3 months. I looked away. The answer was obvious. My exhaustion probably answered for me. The sleepless nights, the dark circles under my eyes, the constant tension in my shoulders. Emma? His voice was quieter now. Why did you not tell anyone? I laughed softly. Not because anything was funny. Because I was tired. So unbelievably tired. Tell who? I asked. I do not have a team of lawyers. I do not have security. I barely have enough money left at the end of the month after rent, groceries, and school expenses. My fingers tightened around my purse strap. I am just trying to keep my son safe. Damien remained silent. His name is Ryan Walker. I continued. Saying it out loud made my chest tighten. He disappeared before Noah was born. No calls, no support, no birthday cards, nothing. The memories felt bitter now, distant, like they belonged to another woman entirely. Then 3 months ago, he came back. Damien's expression darkened slightly. Why? Because someone told him Noah exists. I swallowed hard. At first he wanted meetings, then phone calls, then lawyers. My voice cracked. Now he wants custody. The word hung in the air between us. Custody. As if Noah were something that could be divided on paper. As if 6 years of scraped knees, bedtime stories, school lunches, and sleepless nights could somehow be measured in legal documents. Damien leaned back slightly. And the man at the school today, I nodded. I think it was connected. You think I do not know? I rubbed my forehead. That is the problem. I never know anymore. My voice grew quieter. Every day I wonder if someone is watching. Every day I wonder if another letter will arrive. Another court notice. Another demand. I looked down at my hands. I cannot do this anymore. The confession escaped before I could stop it. The room fell silent again. For a long moment, neither of us moved. Then Damien stood and walked toward the windows overlooking the city. His reflection stared back at him through the rain-streaked glass. Powerful, controlled, untouchable. Yet somehow the tension in his shoulders told a different story. So your solution was to quit? I closed my eyes. Yes. And then I would find another job. While fighting a custody case, I did not answer, because there was no answer. While supporting a 6-year-old alone, still nothing. Damien turned toward me. That was never going to work. Tears burned behind my eyes again. I know. The words came out broken, honest, defeated. For the first time all day, I stopped pretending I had everything under control. Damien stared at me for several seconds. Then he reached for his phone. What are you doing? I asked. His expression never changed. Finding out who approached your son's school. My heart stopped for a second. Damien. He met my eyes. Calm. Certain. Unmovable. Emma. He said quietly. Something tells me this situation is much bigger than you think. The drive to Lincoln Elementary should have taken 20 minutes. Somehow, it felt like hours. Rain drummed against the windshield while the city blurred past in streaks of red taillights and gray buildings. I sat in the passenger seat of Damien's black sedan, staring at my phone so tightly that my fingers ached. Noah had texted me from the school office 10 minutes earlier. Just 3 words. Mom, are you coming? I had read them at least 20 times. Each time my chest hurt a little more. Beside me, Damien was unusually quiet. One hand rested on the steering wheel. The other occasionally tapped against the leather armrest as if his mind was moving faster than the traffic around us. Finally, his phone rang. He answered immediately. Talk to me. His voice became colder, sharper. I watched his expression carefully. When a pause. Are you certain another pause? My stomach tightened. Damien listened for nearly 30 seconds before ending the call. The silence afterward felt unbearable. What is it? I asked. He kept his eyes on the road. The man who visited the school this afternoon was not Ryan Walker. My confusion deepened. Then who was he? We do not know yet. The answer should have reassured me. Instead, it terrified me. If it was not Ryan, then someone else was asking questions about my son. Someone else was watching. The realization settled heavily in my chest. Damien glanced toward me briefly. There is more. My pulse quickened. What? The school security footage shows the man taking photographs. Every muscle in my body went rigid. Photographs of Noah, the building, the parking lot, the dismissal area. I felt sick. The city lights outside suddenly looked distant and unreal. Why would someone do that? Damien did not answer immediately. That frightened me more than anything. Because Damien Romano always seemed to have answers. We pulled into the school parking lot moments later. Most of the spaces were empty. Rainwater shimmered beneath the streetlights. The building looked quiet except for a single illuminated office window near the entrance. I was out of the car before Damien could even park. The moment I stepped through the doors, I saw him. Noah sat in a chair beside the office desk holding his backpack against his chest. His blonde hair was messy. His sneakers swung nervously above the floor. The second he saw me, he jumped to his feet. Mom. Relief hit me so hard that my knees nearly gave out. I wrapped my arms around him immediately. He smelled like crayons and rain and the apple juice he always drank after school. For several seconds, I simply held him. Noah hugged me back tightly. "I thought you forgot," he whispered. Tears stung my eyes. "Never." My voice broke. "I would never forget you." Noah nodded against my shoulder. Then he pulled back slightly. "Mom." "Yeah." His small face suddenly looked serious. The man came back. Every sound around me disappeared. What man? Noah pointed toward the front windows of the school, the one who kept looking at me. A cold wave of fear rushed through my body. Slowly, I turned toward the rain-covered glass, across the street, partially hidden beneath a glowing bus stop shelter. A dark vehicle sat parked with its headlights off, and for the first time, I realized someone might still be watching us right now. My breath caught in my throat as I stared through the rain-streaked glass. The dark vehicle sat motionless across the street. No headlights, no movement, just waiting. Noah's small hand slipped into mine. "That is the car," he whispered. Every protective instinct inside me came alive at once. I tightened my grip on his hand and pulled him a little closer. "Are you sure?" He nodded immediately. I saw it when school ended. My stomach twisted. Damien had gone completely still beside us. The school secretary glanced between us nervously. "Is everything all right?" she asked. Neither of us answered right away. Damien stepped toward the window. His expression remained calm, but I had worked for him long enough to recognize when something had his full attention. "This had it. Stay here," he said quietly. "Absolutely not." The words escaped before I could stop them. He looked at me. "Emma." "No." My voice shook. "I am not standing here while somebody watches my son." For a moment, we stared at each other. Then something unexpected happened. Damien nodded. "Fair enough." He pulled out his phone and made a call. His voice remained low enough that I could not hear everything he said. Just a few short instructions. Precise. Direct. Less than a minute later, he ended the call and slipped the phone back into his pocket. "What did you do?" I asked. "I asked someone to verify whether that vehicle belongs to the same individual who visited the school." The casual way he said it almost made me laugh. Verify. As if this were a routine business matter, instead of the most frightening day of my life. Noah leaned against my side. His backpack still hung from one shoulder. Suddenly he looked very small, 6 years old, missing a front tooth. Wearing the dinosaur sneakers he refused to outgrow. The thought of someone following him made my chest ache. "Mom," he asked softly. "Yeah, did I do something wrong?" My heart shattered. I dropped to one knee immediately. "No." I brushed damp hair away from his forehead. "You did absolutely nothing wrong. Then why does that man keep looking at me?" Tears threatened again. I forced myself to smile. "I do not know yet." Noah studied me carefully. Children always seemed to know when adults were afraid. "Are we going to be okay?" Before I could answer, Damien spoke from behind me. "Yes." His voice was steady, certain. Noah looked up at him. "Really, really?" Damien crouched slightly so they were eye level. "You have a very brave mother." Noah nodded seriously. "She is." Something flickered across Damien's face. Respect, maybe, or concern. Then his phone buzzed. He checked the screen. The change in his expression was immediate. My stomach dropped. What happened? I asked. Damien lifted his eyes to mine. The vehicle is registered to a private investigation firm. The world seemed to stop. A private investigator. He nodded once. Cold dread spread through me. Because there was only one person who would have a reason to hire someone to follow my son. Ryan Walker. The ride home was quieter than any car ride I could remember. Noah sat in the back seat clutching the stuffed dinosaur he carried everywhere. The rain had finally eased, leaving the streets slick beneath the glow of streetlights. Every few minutes I glanced at him through the rearview mirror, just to reassure myself he was still there. Safe, breathing, smiling faintly as he looked out the window, yet the fear refused to leave. It sat heavily in my chest like a stone. Damien drove without speaking for most of the trip. His attention remained fixed on the road, but I could tell his mind was somewhere else entirely. Processing, calculating, connecting pieces I could not see. When we reached my apartment building, I unbuckled immediately. "Thank you," I said quietly. Damien nodded once. "Get inside." I opened the door, then paused. "That is it." His gaze shifted toward me. "For tonight." Something about the answer unsettled me. What does that mean? It means I am still looking into Ryan Walker. The way he said Ryan's name made me shiver. Calm, controlled, certain. "Damien," he interrupted gently. "Go inside." "Emma." I looked back at Noah, then at the dark street beyond the parking lot. Every shadow suddenly seemed suspicious. Every parked vehicle looked unfamiliar. Damien noticed. Of course he did. He noticed everything. "Nobody is going to bother you tonight," he said. "How do you know?" For the first time all evening. Something almost resembling irritation crossed his face. "Because I am telling you they will not." The confidence in his voice should not have reassured me. Somehow it did. I helped Noah out of the car and led him toward the building entrance. Halfway there, I looked back. Damien was still sitting behind the wheel watching until we disappeared inside. The realization stayed with me all the way upstairs. An hour later, Noah was asleep. His bedroom nightlight cast soft blue stars across the ceiling. I sat beside his bed longer than usual, listening to the steady rhythm of his breathing. Only after I was certain he was deeply asleep did I return to the living room. My phone buzzed the moment I sat down. Unknown number. My stomach tightened. Slowly, I answered. "Hello," silence greeted me. Then a man's voice, familiar. "You are making this harder than it needs to be." "Emma." Every muscle in my body froze. "Ryan." I had not heard his voice in weeks. "What do you want?" "I want to know my son." My grip tightened around the phone. Following him is not knowing him. A pause, then a small laugh. "You always assume the worst." Fear crawled up my spine. "Stay away from Noah. That is not your decision anymore." The line went dead. For several seconds I sat motionless, staring at the phone. My heart hammered against my ribs. Then another message appeared. This one from Damien. A single sentence. "Ryan Walker is not telling you the whole truth. We need to talk tomorrow." Beneath those words was an attachment. A file containing information that would change everything I thought I knew about Noah's father. I stared at the attachment for nearly a full minute before opening it. Part of me did not want to know. Part of me was terrified that whatever Damien had discovered would make everything worse. Eventually, fear lost to curiosity. My thumb pressed the screen. The file opened. At first, I did not understand what I was looking at. Financial records, business registrations, legal documents. Then I saw Ryan's name, again and again. My pulse quickened. The man who had claimed he was struggling to rebuild his life was listed as a partner in multiple companies. Expensive companies. Profitable companies. My stomach tightened as I continued scrolling. The final page contained a photograph. Ryan standing beside a woman I had never seen before. Beside them stood 2 children. A family portrait. I felt the blood drain from my face. The timestamp showed it had been taken 8 months ago. 8 months. My hands began to shake. Ryan had told the court he wanted a relationship with Noah because he regretted missing his son's childhood. He had spoken about second chances, about family, about responsibility. Yet according to the information in front of me, he already had a family, a complete life, a wife, children, everything. I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, questions crowded my mind. Why now? Why Noah? Why spend months fighting for custody after ignoring his existence for 6 years? By morning, my head ached from exhaustion. Noah left for school carrying his dinosaur backpack, while I forced a smile I did not feel. The second he disappeared through the school doors, I drove straight to Damien's office. He was already waiting. The moment I stepped inside, he slid a cup of coffee across the desk toward me. You read it. It was not a question. I nodded. Who is that woman? Damien folded his hands. Ryan's wife. The confirmation hit harder than I expected. Then why is he doing this? For the first time. Damien looked genuinely concerned. Because Noah may not be the reason. A chill ran through me. What does that mean? He opened another file. Yesterday my team discovered something unusual. My heartbeat quickened again. Damien turned the screen toward me. Several documents filled the display. Property records, trust agreements, legal notices. None of it made sense until I saw a familiar name. My father's. I froze. My father had died when I was 21. He had left almost nothing behind except medical bills and memories. Yet there it was. His name attached to a trust fund I had never heard of. This cannot be right. Damien's gaze never left mine. I verified it twice. My mouth went dry. Why would my father have a trust? That is exactly the question. He paused. And according to these records, Noah is listed as a beneficiary. The room seemed to spin. Suddenly, Ryan's sudden interest. The investigators, the legal pressure, the school surveillance, none of it felt random anymore. Someone had discovered something valuable. And for the first time, I realized Noah might have been at the center of a secret neither of us knew existed. For several seconds, I could not speak. I simply stared at the documents spread across Damien's desk while the pieces slowly began falling into place. The mysterious investigators, Ryan's sudden return, the custody petition, the pressure. None of it had started because he wanted to be a father. It had started because he wanted access to something connected to Noah, something valuable enough to spend months chasing. I sank into the chair across from Damien and rubbed my temples. My father never told me any of this. Damien nodded. Which means either he wanted it hidden or someone made sure it stayed hidden. Outside the office windows, the afternoon sun finally broke through the clouds. Golden light spilled across the city, but it did nothing to ease the knot in my chest. What happens now? I asked quietly. Damien closed the file. Now we protect Noah. The certainty in his voice settled something inside me. For months I had carried every fear alone. Every court notice, every sleepless night, every terrifying possibility. Suddenly I was no longer standing by myself. A week later, everything changed. Ryan withdrew his custody petition. Just like that, no warning, no dramatic confrontation, no final argument. His attorneys submitted the paperwork and disappeared. When I received the notification, I read it 3 times because I thought I was misunderstanding it. Then I cried in my car for nearly 10 minutes. Not because I was sad, because for the first time in months, I could breathe again. That evening, I picked Noah up from school myself. He ran across the sidewalk and launched himself into my arms. "Good news," he asked immediately. I laughed through tears. "The best news." His grin widened. "Then can we get pizza?" Children had a remarkable ability to simplify life. Absolutely. We stopped at our favorite little pizza place on the way home. Noah spent most of dinner explaining an elaborate plan involving dinosaurs, astronauts, and a treehouse. I listened to every word. Later that night, after Noah had fallen asleep, my phone buzzed. A message from Damien. "Come to the office tomorrow. There is something I want to show you." The next morning, I walked into Romano Holdings expecting another file, another revelation. Instead, Damien handed me a folder containing a new employment contract. I blinked in confusion. "What is this A promotion?" I stared at him. "You are serious, or?" I opened the folder. The salary increase alone nearly made me drop it. "Damien, this is insane." "No." A rare smile touched the corner of his mouth. "It is overdue." Emotion tightened my throat. "Why are you doing this?" For a moment, he said nothing. Then he looked directly at me. "Because 4 years ago, a single mother walked into my company carrying a sleeping toddler and asked for a chance." My chest tightened. I remembered that day. Every detail. "You were terrified," he continued quietly. "But you never stopped fighting for him." His eyes softened. "People like that deserve support." I swallowed hard. "You could have let me quit." "I could have." Silence settled between us. Then Damien smiled slightly. "But I'm glad I did not. Looking back now, I realize some people enter your life for a reason. Not to rescue you, not to save you, but to remind you that carrying everything alone was never the only option. And sometimes, the moment that feels like the end of your story is actually the moment a better chapter begins."